Blake Lewis does a great job covering the NFL. Pro Football Writers Association as well. USA Today covers the Skins, the NBA. Great follow on Twitter at Lake Lewis. Kind enough to join us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. How you been, pal?
Hey, what's going on, Q?
How's everything, bud? Did you you catch your breath from the combine?
I did. I got to tell you though, it wasn't. It didn't have the same buzz this year as it's had over the last, obviously several years of me going up there. This year it was a little different. It was a little bit more subdued. And, it was just business as usual. Really got a chance with not a whole lot of side stories and, a bunch of drama. It was just watching young guys, help their lives and their dreams come true. So it was pretty good in that proponent, but otherwise it was quiet.
We'll get to Barkley in a moment. How about the quarterbacks? I mean, if you look right now at all the mock drafts and all the pundits, for your estimation, who do you believe is going to be the best quarterback? Well, you know what? I can't even ask you. That's not a fair question. But who's got some – because nobody knows. But who's got upside? If you were the Browns or the Giants, who do you think would be that top pick or that second overall pick out of the Allen, the Rosens, the Darnolds, the Mayfields, the Jacksons? Who do you got?
If I have to play a guy right now, I'm a couple people say, Rosen, but I'm going to say Darnold. I think his temperament is probably more NFL ready as far as just being able to bounce back, and he's tough. I mean, he's a tough kid, and I think that he's going to need that as a rookie. All of them will. I will say this, and my media friends here in D.C. jump on me all the time because I've been singing Lamar Jackson's praises, for the last 2 years, and it's a shame. It really is a shame that I was standing there talking with the guy at the combine, and then somebody else has just kept the narrative of if you're asked to play wide receiver, will you? Why should he even be asked a dumb question like that? It's
I'm going to tell you
the Heisman Trophy.
I know, but I'm going to tell you why they asked that question. A, they're trying to get a soundbite, but now all of a sudden a franchise out there hears, well, this kid's willing to do anything to play in the NFL. But you know what? Then you run into the same situation like a Tebow. He wanted to play quarterback, and then when he started to realize maybe he's better suited at another position, it was too late. Now, I think this kid is extremely athletic, and I enjoyed watching him play. I don't know how he would translate in the pros. I mean, listen, there's some talk that if you're the Saints, why not take a flyer on him? Because now you've got an athletic quarterback with that offense after Breeze retires for, say, the next 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know. Is he a round number one talent to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think he's a high number one talent.
Okay.
And I say this because a lot of people, this guy's so rare, Q, that people automatically assume that Louisville was running a spread offense. They weren't. They were running a pro-style offense. But because he's so ridiculously athletic, he could create plays with his legs. He could extend plays with his legs. But he also threw 4,000 yards. I mean, I'll challenge any of your listeners or anyone out there, period, even in our profession, name one offensive player on Louisville's team outside of Lamar Jackson.
No one can. No one can. No, you're absolutely right.
And that's my point. It's like, don't throw this guy under the bus when last year he had, outside of his completion percentage, which was 59, that needs to get worked on. However, he was a one-man gang. He played in ACC, which some people can argue is the best conference in all of football, in college football. And he did this with really no one else. And his numbers overall were better than they were the year before when he won the Heisman. So I just think he's getting a bad rap. And I think whoever gets him is going to get a really good football player that's going to have, years down the road, people scratching their head on why this whole narrative came up.
And I'll say this to close out on Jackson. I don't believe the Saints don't want a pocket quarterback. They had one in Breeze for 12, 13 years. But who did they like coming out? They loved Mahomes. They also thought pretty highly of Watson, Mariota, young quarterbacks that are making some plays. So it'll be interesting to see. He definitely has the rare talent, and maybe he does get a shot. Hopefully he does. How about the Allens, the Rosens, the Darnolds, the Mayfields? I mean, there's talk now that the Browns will not go in the direction of a quarterback. They'll go with Barkley out of Penn State. The Giants at 2, there's some mock drafts that say they want to trade down. If they trade down, no matter what, they're going to get a quarterback. It's either going to be Rosen, Allen, or Darnold. And I'm just wondering, out of those 3, give me kind of your, handicap those 3.
Like I said, I think Darnold's the guy you want to take first if you want someone to come immediately in. I don't think we saw the full arsenal that he had last year. I mean, he was coming off such a great year before that when they beat Penn State in the Rose Bowl, and I think it was a lot of pressure on him. And frankly, I don't think USC was as good as a lot of people thought they were going to be. So he didn't really have that number one threat, at the wide receiver position. And obviously, you're going up to the next level now. Depending on where he goes, I think that he's going to have some NFL talent around him. I think that for all 4 of those quarterbacks. I think all of them are good football players. And I think depending on the system they're in is going to obviously predicate how well they play. I know you said you'd move on from Jackson, but I'll just throw something out at you.
Yeah,
if you're the Cleveland Browns, and you've won one game in the last 2 years, so like 1-33 or something, 1-31 or something like that. Well, anyway, if you're the Browns, you've got to take Barkley number 1. You've got to take him number 1 just for the sole purpose of you've bombed a quarterback for so long with your top pick. And this guy's going to fill some seats. He's not too far, meaning, Pennsylvania, Ohio, bordering states. So he's clearly going to have a fan base there of people who know who he is. And again, you now become a focal point of the NFL because, the NFL is going to hitch their wagon on Barkley as far as a marketing kid. So if you're the Browns, now you become relevant, if anything, as far as having a household name player. And then you could follow it up with the number 4 pick or trade down and maybe say, like, you grab another first rounder and have 2 later first rounders. And then maybe you take Jackson at quarterback to pair up with Barkley and you have another first rounder in there somewhere else where maybe you go wide receiver or something. My point is, if you're Cleveland, nothing's worked over the last 2-3 years. So if anything, now you become relevant with some exciting talent on the field.
Yeah, and they've got the wiggle room because they have 1 and 4. And you're absolutely right. And maybe they go with a Jackson or a Mayfield or whomever at 4. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, I said this before, I'd be contradicting myself if I said, well, yeah, you shouldn't take the quarterback when I've been praising, or the running back. I'm not a big fan of taking running backs in the top 5, but by all accounts, yeah, I know. And by all accounts, if this and I know you're a Penn State guy, and I've spoken to a lot of Penn State people, and they said people forget this kid not only has 2 gears, but he also blocks, and he's a good kid, and he runs routes, and he can catch them. I mean, first of all, can you imagine, just for a second, you get Norwell on that line with the Giants, and you've got a healthy Beckham, Shepard, Ingram. You got Eli for the next 2 to 3, and then you got this kid coming out of the backfield. That's a nightmare. It's probably not going to happen, though, because it seems like Cleveland's going to grab him at 1.
I don't know. It's 50-50. I mean, but I do know this. If Cleveland doesn't announce Saquon Barkley with the number 1 pick, the Giants will already have somebody hiding behind the podium.
But let me ask you something. Hold on real quick. So you bring up an interesting point. If they go with a quarterback at 1, see, you have to think about this from a New York standpoint. Is this the short-term gratification, the quick burst that they get a Barkley for the next 2 to 3? Because no matter what, if they're thinking about paying Beckham, you better have a cheap quarterback, because you got to pay Beckham, and you better have a cheap quarterback money-wise for the next 7 or 8 years. So you're not going to have Eli after 3 years. So if they go and they draft this kid at 2, then what they're saying is, we believe now we've got a tight window. But after that, they're pretty much SOL if they don't get a quarterback.
I agree with your assessment, but I don't think they'd be in a bad bind, because it actually could play into your favor. And
well, how high are they on Davis Webb?
Well, I don't think they're high at all as far as him being the heir apparent to take him long term. But one thing I do know from covering this league for so many years, the NFL will find 4 quarterbacks every year to market through the combine, because that's the way they make their money. They make their money on quarterbacks. There's 3 kids right now that no one knows in college football that are going to be household names at this time next year. And you're always going to be able to draft a quarterback. That's just the way the league is set up. So if I'm the Giants, I'm looking at it like, was last year, just a
fluke,
an anomaly, a fluke season, was an aberration, or was this team that close to being a Super Bowl contender before the season started that everyone thought they were? So if I'm the Giants, I'm saying you got rid of the biggest cancer that there was. Maybe two, because I know you weren't high on Reese for a long time.
I wasn't. He overextended his stay.
Right. So you got rid of Reese, you got rid of McAdoo. Now you have, new guy in the building. And let's face it, he's inheriting some offensive firepower. He's inheriting actually some defensive firepower too. You just have to put it back together. If you're the Giants and you line up a healthy Beckham, who you never saw with Ingram, the tight end, who I think has tremendous upside, and then you have a stud running back in the backfield who also can catch out the backfield as well, you bring Eli back. You bring him back. You sign him to a 2-year deal.
Of course.
And you see what this thing can do. And I got to tell you, if they get Barkley and re-sign Eli, the Giants are a playoff caliber football team.
Oh, I believe that. Cleveland could throw Cleveland really. I mean, think about this too, right? You still have free agent quarterbacks out there. So what if they want to sign a free agent? What if they're high on like a McCarron's? They're not going to get Kirk Cousins, which we'll get into in a second. But again, so they
don't want that,
and probably Kirk doesn't either. But they kind of. They're holding all the gold here, and you're right. I mean, you have to, if you are Cleveland. And my goodness, if the football gods ever smiled upon you once, if you go with a quarterback at 1, you better get it right. You can mess up in round number 2 or 3, but you can't keep going to the well thinking this is the quarterback, this is the quarterback, this is the quarterback. I mean, that's why they're the Browns.
Right. But if you're the Giants, there's 2 quarterbacks that I'm interested in. If I'm the Giants, I'm interested in Foles, who, just because he has familiarity being in the division, obviously I don't.
As a backup, as a bridge, as a backup.
I'm saying if you make a harsh decision and you decide to not go Eli, which is to me would be impossible for the Giants to do that. But if they did and they wanted to have a clean slate, the 2 quarterbacks I would look at for them would be Foles, which I don't know if that could work out. It's in division. The Eagles don't want that. Trust me, too close to home. The other guy that I think still has really good football in him, but he's coming off an injury.
Don't Bridgewater. I mentioned him too.
I really do.
But remember, Eli's under contract for 2 years. He's going to start this year.
Yeah. He is.
But I get what you're saying. Whatever. Yeah. And Bridgewater's an interesting case because you've got 3.
Maybe I bring him in anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Eli. Because here now that leads us to Cousins now. So. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say they did the right thing, but they kind of did the right thing. They didn't tag him. He's free to sign anywhere else. Listen, I have no problem with the money he's going to make. If Minnesota wants to break the bank, break the bank. But you still have Arizona. You've got the Jets. Yeah, but again, it's what the market bears. Now, if you stick him with Minnesota, you still got to beat Green Bay. Listen, I'm not going to debate with you if he's worth $92 million. We can do that for 24 hours. But the bottom line is he's getting paid.
The market dictates that for him.
Right.
But this is the thing. The team doesn't necessarily dictate that. And if I'm the Vikings, I was, a half away from getting to the Super Bowl with my third-string quarterback at one point. So my point is that team is constructed to be a championship team. Do you want to bring in a guy for all that money? And now it kind of gets into your salary cap a little bit going forward. I don't think that's wise. I think that Kirk Cousins is the type of quarterback, and I took a lot of heat for this. You know me, Q, for a long time. I took some heat in this market for saying it. I don't think he's the type of quarterback that makes a good team great, and I don't think he makes a bad team much better. I think he is a guy that benefited from a system, a quarterback-friendly system, and you're going to see Alex Smith benefit from that system this year too, even though I think Alex Smith has a lot more intangibles.
What did you think of D'Angelo Hall's comments?
As far as Foles?
As far as Kirk Cousins?
I say this. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just know what I know, and I know that this quote unquote love affair that some people thought was not there in that locker room. Trust me when I tell you. And that's not to throw dirt on him or anything like that. He's a nice guy. He really is. He's a really nice guy. But sometimes you don't want nice guys. Sometimes you want a guy that takes the bull by the horns. And that's always been something that I think has been lacking. And, for Kirk to go out and say all the time that he wants to go somewhere where he can win and everything's set up to want to win, I kind of thought that was a little messed up, to say the least, because he was given the keys to the city over the golden child. Jay Gruden put his professional career on the line by giving Kirk Cousins the job here, and together for 3 straight years, that coach and that quarterback had 4,000 yards. So all I'm saying is that this thing all wasn't about Kirk Cousins, and unfortunately, that's how it started to play out over the last year and a half, and people got tired of it. I know in the media we got tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Let me leave you out on this. First of all, where do you think, when it's all said and done, where do you think he signs?
I think he signs there in New York, not with the Giants, but with the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets, I was thinking either the Jets make a play for Foles or they break the bank with Cousins. He seems like he would be able to handle that market. But again, here's the thing. If you're the Jets, you're just like the Browns. You're just like Arizona, Miami, Buffalo. You got to get it right at the quarterback position.
You have to get it right.
Yeah.
You have to. And this guy's got to give you some wins. I'm a Bulls fan. I think that they could work together. I just don't know how much better the Jets would be with him under center.
You guys just gonna wait to get rid of this guy down there.
I'm telling you, it's and then talking to all my Kansas City friends at the Combine last week, it was just amazing how they all spoke of Alex Smith as far as a man's man. They were like, this guy will take on anything for his teammates. He'll deflect criticism from them. It's just stuff that we haven't seen.
Yeah, but you know what? At the end of the day, no one's downing that. But then come talk to me in December when he throws a fourth quarter pick, and you know what people are going to say? They're going to turn around and say the same crap they said about Kirk Cousins.
Hey, listen,
right?
This is a little different. You know why it's different? Because Alex was throwing fourth quarter interceptions in the playoffs. Oh, wow. I mean, it's a big difference.
I'll give you that. Not to close out the year against the Giants.
yeah. I'd rather him throw one in.
That's a fair point. Hey, he's a good quarterback. I like Alex Smith.
I just think that there's not. I don't think there's going to be a drastic fall off here.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be more of a team setup now, and that's what this organization has needed for a long time.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Great stuff as always. Listen, I don't know what's the weather like down there in D.C. outside Virginia. Is it getting nasty out there or what?
It was a little breezy. It was we had some sleet last night, but nothing like I'm sure you guys got up that way.
You know what? It's just it's a flurry here and people panic. So all right, well, be safe. We will talk next week. I always appreciate a couple moments.
All right, take care.
All right, you got it. Great stuff as always. Lake Lewis jumping on board the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.